right, guys, we are on the last 2 pages of the Unit 7 review. I'm looking on page 27, 28. We'll try and do this in one last video. So if I'm looking on these guys and we are focused on solving, I need to make sure that we're focused on 1, figuring out the solving part, and 2, checking to see if it's extraneous. So I'm going to do all the solving first, and then I'll show you a couple on how to check for extraneous, okay? All right, so I'm going to solve in blue. Let me make this a little bit smaller. So looking at problem 1, if I have a square root, that means to get rid of it, I need to square both sides. A lot of us forget that multiplying a binomial like this and squaring it actually means that I'm foiling it out. So if it helps you to write it twice like this, that way you end up with x squared minus 2x plus 4. That is what I need. You can't just say x squared minus 4, okay? All right, on the right side, the square and the radical cancel, so I just keep what's inside. We're going to go ahead and simplify all of this and make it equal 0. So my x squared is positive over here, which means I'm going to keep it all together. I have negative 4x's here. I'm going to subtract another 2, so negative 6x. I'm going to add this 1 to the other side, which makes 5. And this is my setup. From here, I can factor. I'm saying what multiplies to make 5 adds to a negative 6. I have a negative 1 and a negative 5, which means that I get 2 answers. I get a positive 1 and a positive 5. I do still need to check both of those, but those are my 2 answers. Okay, let's go to B. B, I get lucky that these are both third powers. So if I need to cancel both of them, I'm going to raise both of them to the third exponent. The 3's and the radicals all cancel, so we have 3x minus 3 equals 4x plus 6. I'm going to move the 3 this way and subtract it. That gives me just 1x. I'm going to subtract the 6 over here, which gives me a negative 9, and this is my final answer. Again, I need to check it, but that's my final answer. Going on to C. This is one of the places I saw errors. You guys know to square both sides, but you are forgetting that you're squaring both of these. So 4 squared gives me 16. Then I can do x. And it's not x squared because the squared and the square root cancel, so just an x. Squared and square root cancel. I have 9x plus 9. We're going to subtract the 9 over here. That gives me 7x equals 9. Divide by 7 gives me 9 over 7. Again, final answer, but I still need to check it. Let's go down to the next one. Looking at D. I cannot square this until I have the square root by itself. So I need to move the 3 to the other side. Square root x equals a negative 3. I'm going to show my work by squaring both sides. Remember, when you square a number, it does come out positive. So my answer is going to be x equals a positive 9. I need to check it, but that's my answer. Same thing on E. I can't square this until I have the square root by itself. So I'm going to move the 2x to the other side. Square root of x equals 3 minus 2x. Okay? From there, if I square both sides, I need you to remember that that's the same as doing 3 minus 2x, 3 minus 2x. Okay? All right, so I do get the x by itself because those cancel. But on this side, I get 9 minus 6x plus 4x squared. We want to figure out where the x squared is positive and put everything else there. So my x squared is positive on the right. I'm going to start with him to make factoring easier. 4x squared. I have negative 12x here minus another 1, so negative 13x, and then a positive 9. Okay, I'm going to show you swing and divide off to the side because the only thing I want over here is my actual factors. Okay, so if I swing that, 4 times 9 is 36. To get a 36 and add up to a negative 13, that's saying x minus 4, x minus 9. And I swung a 4, so I divide a 4. Okay, this cancels. This swings back. So my factors look like this. X minus 1 and 4x minus 9. Which means I have 2 answers. I have a positive 1 and a positive 9 over 4. I do need to check both of them. This is something I would prefer you do on another sheet of paper because I really am only focused on the factoring. Okay? All right, I'm going to get rid of that. All right, for F, these are ones that we're missing a lot of because of the fact that there is a fraction here, and it's not just like a square root or a cube root or an exponent, it's both at the same time. Here's my suggestion. I would suggest when you move it, you rewrite it, okay? So if I'm moving that 1 to the other side, I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of x plus 3 to the 3rd power equals 8. And I'm going to do that for 2 reasons. First of all, if I change colors, I can cancel one thing at a time. So if I'm going to cancel this 3, I can cube root it. Cube rooting an 8 makes my life easier. That's going to be a 2. But I still get to keep the square root x plus 3. Now, I can square both sides. Okay? All right, so if I square both sides, I get rid of that. X plus 3 equals 4. Subtract the 3, I get 1. There's only one answer on this problem. I took a cube root. If you ever take a square root, that's when you have to do the plus or minus. Okay? All right, let's look at G. Same idea on G here. I'm going to get the radical by itself, so get this by itself, and then rewrite it as a radical. Okay? All right, so if I move the 2 to the other side, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. So cube root x minus 5, and he's squared. If I add 2 to the other side, I get 64. I'm going to divide both sides by 4, giving me 16. And this is where you need to start being careful. To get rid of that squared right here, I'm going to square root. But if I square root, my answer has to come out to be plus or minus. Okay? So cube root of x minus 5 equals plus or minus 4. If it would help you to split right here, that's fine. If you can keep it separate, that's fine. But if you cube something, it still keeps his plus or minus sign. Okay? So that means if I cube it, these are gone. I keep x minus 5 equals a plus or minus 64. It's still plus or minus. A negative to the 3rd is negative. A positive to the 3rd is positive. So I'm going to split him. I'm going to say x minus 5 equals 64, or x minus 5 equals negative 64. I have to consider both. First one I'm going to have is 69. Second one I'm going to have is a negative 69. Okay? Or sorry, negative 59. Perfect. I do need to check both of those, but this is going to be my answer. Okay? All right, let's look at H. When I move H, I'm moving 40 to the other side. That means I'm adding him. That's 81. Keeping 3x minus 2 to the 4th. To get rid of that, I need to take a 4th root. If it's an even root, you have to have plus or minus. So now I have 4th root of 81 is 3. 3x minus 2. I'm going to split it so I know I have 2 answers. I have 3x minus 2 equals 3, or 3x minus 2 equals a negative 3. If I add 2, that gives me 5. If I add 2 on this side, that gives me a negative 1. Divide by 3 is a fraction, 5/3. Divide by 3 on this side is negative 1/3. Okay? All right, I'm going to check a couple of these for extraneous to show you what you guys are doing sometimes to kind of prevent yourself from getting the right answers. Okay, first of all, you have to check with the original problem. You can't plug it into here, and you can't plug it into here. You have to plug into the original. So for instance, if I'm checking this top problem, number 7, I'm plugging in x minus 2, so 1 minus 2 is equal to the square root of 2 times 1 minus 1. Same thing over here. I'm doing 5 minus 2 is equal to the square root of 2 times 5 minus 1. You cannot solve, like you can't move things from side to side. You have to simplify on each side. 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. Square root of 1. Okay, you can't square both sides. You physically have to say, is the square root of 1 equal to a negative 1? No. 5 minus 2 is 3. 10 minus 1 is 9. So is the square root of 9 equal to 3? Yes. So in this case, I have one extraneous answer. The 1 does not work, only the 5 does. Okay, I'll show you one more on these. On number 9, you cannot plug it into this line. You have to plug it into the original. So square root of 9 plus 3 equals 0. You cannot rearrange stuff and solve. Whatever you're doing, you're asking, does it equal 0? Square root of 9 is 3. Bring down the 3. Does 3 plus c equal 0? No. Okay, I'm not going to show you all of them, but it is important that you focus on simplifying, not solving. Okay. All right, I am going to do a separate video for the graphs just to make sure you can focus on that if you need it.